What's going on? Why the music industry is dying? An explanation. Let's see what this person has to say. Blackie speaks. Let's check it out. Bam.
The music industry is officially on its way to the bottom as over 150 employees and one of the biggest major labels in the industry got laid off, and a whole host of artists have also been getting dropped. This marks a very important time in music as there's currently a very big shift taking place, mostly in relation to the documented plateau of revenue from streaming, something that does affect the entire industry as a whole. Atlantic Records, which is the home label.
So is it dropping? Is revenue from streaming dropping? How do you know it's plateaued? I guess is what I'm saying. Is it on its way down? Is that what's going on? A record label streaming revenue. I don't know who this is, but global recorded music revenues grew by 9.8% in 2023. That's more than 2022. This is RIAA. I know them. Streaming grew 7% to 13.3 billion and comprised 84% of revenues in 2022. That's big. 3 major music companies are now jointly generating approximately $2.9 million per hour. Yo. Below you can see what each of the 3 major music companies generate in revenue across 4 categories: recorded music, publishing, recorded music streaming. Okay, recorded music and publishing. This brings together all recorded music revenue streams for the majors, with music publishing revenues plus ancillary revenues from operations such as merch and concert ticketing. I guess I'm not exactly sure. I feel like I need more specifics on what this breakdown is, because I'm like, okay, this is not these added up. But how is, publishing right here, but also right here, and then recorded music here, and also here, and here? What specifically are the differences? Anyways. All right, forget all this business. I want to keep going.
To some of the biggest stars in music, recently reported that they're downsizing as a part of a major restructuring effort. It was reported that over 170 people working at the major labels
so many companies
this
right now.
Includes people in the management sector,
tech,
people from the marketing department, and a whole lot of the employees put in positions to make the artists win. A lot of musicians are also suffering in the process. If you're not aware, a whole lot of artists have also been getting dropped from the label. The names of those artists are not known yet, but let's just say that these record labels sign thousands of new artists every single year, knowing that 95% of them are not going to succeed, which leaves them with a very small pool of winners, and they're banking all their money on that small percentage of artists breaking even, and an even smaller percentage out of those coming out on top and becoming big names and successful names that makes them a lot of money. There's also been a wave of music executives stepping down from their respective positions. Kevin Liles, CEO of 300 Entertainment, which is the home to Young Thug and Fetty Wap, stepped down after working at the label for over a decade. Julie Greenwald, chairman of Atlantic Records, is also stepping down in January. This may not seem all that major to most people, but it actually is. We're seeing a very interesting shift taking place right now because streaming has undoubtedly dominated the music industry for the last decade. Music streaming was introduced in the early 2000s with Napster, which is an American peer-to-peer file sharing application primarily associated with digital audio file distribution that originally launched on June 1st, 1999. With the launch of Spotify in 2008 is when it became a staple in the music business. It's been the dominant source of income for the music industry since the mid-late 2010s, and it's overtaken physical sales and digital downloads as the primary revenue driver. Now that's been the case for a while, but it does look like the streaming revenue growth in the music industry is appearing to slow down. Although it has grown steadily for years, recent trends suggest that the rapid expansion seen in previous years is now tapering off. As an example, Sony Music reported a modest growth in its streaming revenue in the second quarter of 2024, which is lower than expected compared to previous years. So things objectively aren't as good as they used to be. When a lot of people think about inflation, they think about the effect it's having on their everyday lives, which is understandable because that's the only thing we know. But I want you to realize that this concept applies to the music business as well. We're talking increased touring costs, which is where artists make the majority of their money. This includes rising fuel prices, venue rental fees, and labor costs. This has made touring significantly more expensive. Artists are finding it harder to profit from live performances, which is why so many musicians are not only canceling but also scaling back on touring. This is a of course connected to the consumer, because if it's more expensive to tour for an artist, that obviously drives up the prices they set on things like tickets. So the consumers are facing higher ticket prices as these costs are passed on, factoring in the increased price of raw materials for physical products like vinyls and higher shipping costs, which is impacting the distribution of physical
Everybody
media.
who's alive
This, of course,
knows
puts
this right
immense
now.
pressure on profit margins for the record labels, because if their artists aren't making
whether
as much
you
money,
acknowledge it
that
or not.
affects their bottom line. Inflation is driving up costs across the board in the music industry, from live performances to physical product production, while also potentially reducing consumer spending power. And since so many people in general are struggling financially, and inflation is putting such pressure on household budgets overall, the consumer is going to prioritize essential goods over discretionary spending, like concert tickets, merchandise, and music subscriptions. Overall,
Yeah, of course.
less money is being put into the music industry due to the lack of consumer spending. And the creation of the music in itself is actually a very costly aspect of the process. Most industry artists aren't do-it-yourself musicians because they don't write, record, produce, mix, and release out of their bedroom. In that case, why would they sign to a major label?
Like to drink and smoke some Doja, and I feel like smoking platinum. Yeah!
So unless you fall under the category of someone like Russ, who does everything in-house, as soon as you enter the industry, you're gonna pay industry prices just to create the art. This is something Florida singer and songwriter Money Long spoke about recently. Money Long has for a long time been a successful writer in the music business, but during her rise as an artist after her hit song Hours and Hours blew up, she spoke about some of the things she realized about how expensive it can be just to record music.
I gotta mix it, that's money per song. Now that's 14 songs on this album. The last album was 19. So studios typically for a 12-hour block is $1,200. Then the session engineer is $75 to $100 an hour. So just add that up. Say you do 7 sessions a week, $10,000 just on sessions. And then mixing anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 a track. That's 19 tracks. So that's $100,000. And now you gotta pay for the beats. So they're anywhere from $5,000 to $40,000 a track, depending on who you're working with.
You don't gotta
And
do it
sometimes
like
there's
that.
multiple producers, so you gotta pay this fee, this
You
fee,
don't
this
gotta
fee.
do it like that.
I didn't realize
No.
how much money that it takes to actually be an artist. This is before you market. This is before you shoot a video. This is before you do an appearance.
This is why a lot of your favorite artists in the industry are actually struggling. Believe it or not, a lot of artists are surviving off of the advance money they receive from the record labels. And that money, which is a loan, of course, has to be paid back through your record sales. Every aspect of the process, whether it's music videos, marketing, securing features, first-class flights, has to be recouped by the label. But what happens when people aren't streaming your records and you sign the infamous 360 deal, which allows the label to essentially eat off of all your income streams? You have a situation where you get stuck in the recoupment phase for an eternity, which is another way of staying in debt. New York rapper Fat Joe, who a lot of people will recognize from the song Lean Back, spoke about how an album he dropped over 20 years ago that sold over 2 million records still has him in a place till this day where he owes his previous label money.
Scientist who wins the Nobel Peace Prize to do the accounting on major labels' math, and they always can't figure it out. And so it's robbery all the way through. And you sing your life, your pain, your this, that, and they own your shit. So that's why I say it's a Ponzi scheme. I sold 2 million records, still ain't recouped. I have an album, Jose sold 2 million records. When I get my statement from the major label 20 years later, I still owe them money. I put out an album independently on Empire and get distribution. My album might sell 250, 300,000 records. I make millions of dollars off of it.
Method Man, which is another legacy act in hip-hop, revealed this year that he's never received a single check from streaming in his career.
You know,
because
honestly,
you don't own
for any of my music.
Your music.
I've never gotten a streaming check for any of my
right?
music.
You don't
like
own
I said,
it.
I'm still trying to figure it all out.
Which is insane to even think about. So even the older
it's
artists
not that
who've been
insane.
around for
You
some
don't
time
own your masters.
Don't have it figured out the way you think they do. The reality is, people are just not buying albums like they used to. And since the monetary payouts
doesn't even have to do with
is
that.
extremely low, this is a very unsustainable model set in place, which is leaving many musicians financially vulnerable in 2024. Artists are not only dependent on touring and merchandise sales, which is becoming more costly for the consumer. A lot of artists on these major major labels are also facing continuous pressure to release content in the form of music and digital content without seeing a substantial increase in royalties. The record labels are far more focused on short-term streaming trends, and this hit-driven market makes it harder for artists to build long-lasting careers. These layoffs and cuts in artist rosters also means less support for musicians in terms of promotion and A&R development, and that's leading to the artists shouldering more of the financial and marketing budget themselves, which is the entire point of signing to a record label. You're gambling on other people's money with the help of this infrastructure that's supposed to propel your name beyond ways you could do it yourself. What happens when half the building that was championing your artistry gets dropped overnight and you're now left to fend for yourself? The truth is, a lot of artists in the industry are coming to terms with the fact that everything is truly not what it seems. Prince did, after all, call record contracts another form of slavery. This is something he realized after the battle for his master recordings, which led to him changing his name to a symbol in the 90s as a form of protest against his record label, Warner Bros. Tupac is another good example of this conversation, because Tupac wasn't as rich as you would think he was looking from the outside. After his death, Pac's family discovered that he was millions of dollars in debt to his record label, Death Row Records. Not only that, but the house that he had supposedly purchased before his passing wasn't even in his name.
I discovered he had next to zero, next to nothing. I discovered that the home that he had thought that he had just bought was not his.
Afeni Shakur says her son deserved a lot more than he ended up with.
I say that the entertainment business is a business of prostitution and thievery, and that was rampant around my son's talent, you know.
The truth is that Tupac got stuck in the recoupment phase because the lifestyle he was living was fueled by the millions of dollars his label was fronting him, which was a necessity for him due to the fact that his career was filled with a whole host of legal troubles that he was constantly fighting with that money, and all those expensive video shoots weren't going to be paid by themselves, so the costs were racking up, and the ugly discovery made by his mother led to immense disappointment as she realized her son didn't have a lot of money to his name to begin with. These stories are not uncommon, as a lot of artists are in a perpetual state of debt to their record labels, something that doesn't get discovered by the majority until the minority decide to hire an independent lawyer with no ties to the music industry for an audit. Rapper Camilla is a great example of this. Camilla is a 44-year-old rapper born in Washington, D.C., raised in Houston, Texas, who found success in the rap industry in the mid-2000s with the song Riding. Camilla rode that high for a few years, but ended up having other aspirations that didn't involve just being a rapper. Later in life, with the rap money he had acquired, Camilla became a serial investor and entrepreneur who now has an estimated net worth of $50 million. Camilla, during his rise as a rapper, started connecting the dots in regards to how the music industry actually works. Just like a lot of artists
I've heard him talk about it,
that he was simply getting ripped off and managed to get out of his contract with Sony. Before he did that, however, Camilla discovered $600,000 that was hidden by his record label, and that only happened after he hired a lawyer that did an audit of his financials in relation to the label.
I believe that when the check gets handed to an artist, the check is normally not right. The first person that told me this was Nelly. Nelly told me, you know, you got to learn how to do this thing called an audit. And I was like, what is that? And then he was like, man, you got to get a lawyer. And so I searched, I found Jay-Z's auditor, right? So he goes and he finds over $600,000 that the label hid for me. So I was like, wait a second, is this the way it always is? He's like, yeah, you got to keep on doing this.
Camilla is one of the
every quarter, every year,
coming out on top
that's real.
That's not usually how things go. A lot of artists have sadly been sold a lie of fortune, not realizing that
I'll get into it after this.
A cost that sometimes is too late to come back from. Luckily, with the abundance of information in this day and age, and people like me and other platforms speaking on this, I think there will be a rise in the truth prevailing, because believe it or not, the majority of people still don't know any of these things I talked about in relation to the music business. The lies have been marketed at such a big scale, it's became the truth to the masses, and it's due to both the public and the musician being uninformed that the corporations are able
I feel
to
like
keep
people know it.
money.
I feel like people know it. It's not. This is not
new. For every
new.
artist that gets dropped, there's 10 more that get signed at the same time, and statistically, 80% of them have no clue what's waiting on the other side. Even the ones who are in the knowing end up getting blindsided at some point. Even though the business of music will never die, the industry aspect is in fact dying, because the industry is based on a lie and an illusion and a skewed perception of what it means to make it. The glass is getting shattered as we speak, the rooms are emptying themselves out, the queue to the entrance is getting shorter, and let's just say that the party is in fact dying. Anyway, appreciate you for making it till the end. Before you leave, make sure you drop a like.
All right, there it is. Yeah, I don't know that I agree. Let's go back to what this was saying. Oh yeah, so the Camillionaire thing. Yeah, I heard it was a while ago. I heard a bit of his story and him talking about his experience in the music industry. But the thing about auditing, I found out, I think it was in Duff McKagan's book that I read forever ago, where he was talking, this is the bass player for Guns N' Roses, and talking about his story and them and the record label and the money that they didn't get. Basically, exactly what he said, every single time that they get money, they have to audit. And there's always more money there that was supposed to go to them. Always. So they basically have to sue their record label every year to get what they should actually get. It's a racket. It's a full on racket. It's like, okay, for somebody like them who they've had this massive career, massive generated massive amounts of money and, massive career, all that kind of thing. Maybe it probably makes sense to hire a lawyer, auditor to do this every year. But for someone like me, just for instance, it's like, am I really going to hire a lawyer, auditor every year to check that I'm getting the royalties that I should be getting? I don't know that that's going to be worth it. I'm going to be paying the lawyer auditor more than I'd be getting probably. So it's just like, even though I know some specific things where I'm like, I didn't see that money. And it's just like, it's insane. And I remember after, the record came out, I'm not giving specifics. If after the record came out, I had to email and try and figure out who to talk to with, it was a BMI, like a zillion times. It was like over months. I was like, yo, where's my money for this performance? Where's my money for these performances? Where is it? Where is it? Like, where is it? I literally know that it happened, right? I saw it with my own eyes, or I heard it with my own ears, or whatever. I literally know that it happened. Where is it? Where's the money for that? Where is that? Is it on here? But I'm just not, it's not itemized or something like that. Like, what is it? Months going back and forth, like mostly just, me being like, where is it? Where's it at? Hey, just following up. Where is it at? Hey, just following up. Where is that? This is, like a decade ago or however long it was ago. Not quite a decade ago, 8 years ago or something. And then finally, and this must have been just just shut the hell up. Just here's a little bit of money, shut the hell up type of thing. They're like, oh yeah, you're right. I get an email back. Oh yeah, you're right. There was, this performance that, we didn't put in for, here's some money for that. And it was just one performance. And I was talking about multiple. And I'm just like, again, it was just like, shut the hell up. Just shut the hell up. Just give them some money. Shut the hell up. And I'm just like, this whole thing is a fucking scam. It is. It's entirely a racket. It's fully a racket. So do I think that the industry itself is dying in terms of like the record companies and record labels and their income and things like that? No, I don't think that. Yeah, $433 per second. Go fuck yourself. No, I don't think so. Year-on-year revenue growth at the majors is still healthy, but right now not keeping up with the substantial double-digit year-over-year increases we once saw. Okay. Yeah, right. It's slower. There it is. But it's still, right? 10.5, 9.6, 2.5. It's still up. And we're talking about in this inflationary cycle that we've been in. Recorded music revenues in the U.S. in 2022 continued to grow for the 7th consecutive year. Total revenues grew 6% to a record high $15.9 billion at estimated retail value. Streaming continued to be the biggest driver of growth, with record levels of engagement and paid subscriptions, continued growth in ad-supported format revenues, and growing contributions from new platforms and services. I mean, you know, this is from the RIAA. Whew. 84%. That's a big deal. That's a big, monstrous deal. And the record labels knew this, and that's why they cut a deal with Spotify. They knew that this was, everybody knew and saw this was happening. Napster already was just kind of ravaging the place. So they're like, okay, cool. Oh, you guys got this thing, Spotify. Yeah, we'll make a deal. Cut them in. Didn't they invest? They invested in Spotify. That's like part of it. Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, they absolutely did all that so that they knew, you know, this is going to be a huge chunk. This is them making money while they sleep. That's what that is. That's just what it is. Yeah, physical product is like nothing. Paid subscriptions is going up. That's huge. Still going up. All the people that are like, I'm canceling my Spotify and blah, blah, you know, all that stuff. Lots of musicians talk like that. Like, why would you support that? It's like, look at this. Go ahead, cancel. This is 1,000 people for everybody that says they're going to cancel. You know what I mean? That's what it is. Digital subscription and streaming. Paid subscription, up. Percent change I'm looking at, up. Limited tier paid subscription, on-demand streaming, ad-supported. Sound exchange distributions. Estimated payments to performers and copyright holders for digital and customized radio services under statutory licenses. Yeah. How I understand it, Sound Exchange is paying your song for, like, I want to say like Sirius XM, for example, right? What we do. Yeah. Here it is. Sound Exchange. Recording artists and sound recording owners must be registered with Sound Exchange in order to receive digital performance royalties for the use of their sound recordings on non-interactive platforms like SiriusXM, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. There you go. That's what it is. So, like, when I register a song, I register with BMI because I'm with BMI, and then I go to Song Trust, and then I go to Sound Exchange, and that's who I register it with. This is after releasing it, right? Like, after I put it, I use TuneCore. So after I use TuneCore and I put it in, I set a release schedule, right? I set the release. After it comes back that it's sent and they accepted it, then I submit it I put all the information into BMI, Song Trust, and Sound Exchange. And then they track it. And that's how it goes. That's just what it is. And you just got to trust them. Sound Exchange is down. Yeah, how many people use Pandora, SiriusXM, and iHeartRadio? Probably more people. Well, obviously, more people use Spotify type of, or Apple Music, or, you know, all of that. Digital permanent download. I imagine people aren't using like iTunes to buy music like that anymore. I would assume this is going to just keep dropping. Physical, LPs, so vinyl is ticking up. Vinyl's the highest. Yeah, so there you go. No, I don't think that the music industry is dying. Nope. Definitely don't think it's dying. That's my take. What do you guys think? It was an alright video. This guy's got lots of interesting videos. This is actually my first time watching any of his videos. It was alright. Check him out. Alright. What do you guys think about it? Music industry is a racket. That's basically what it is. Alright, I'll catch you in the next video. Later.